What if I told you a quiet, frozen town where everyone smiles is hiding something so dangerous they're willing to kill for it? And what if the only man standing in their way is a tired, broken sheriff who doesn't even trust himself? This is Normal 2026, and trust me, there's nothing normal about it. We begin with a man named Ulysses. He's not a hero, not anymore. Once he was a good cop, a good husband too. But something happened, something so dark it destroyed both. Now he drifts from town to town, taking temporary sheriff jobs, never staying long enough to care, never getting close enough to feel. Because to him, life is easier when you care less. His latest stop? A small town in Minnesota called Normal. Population under 2,000. Snow-covered streets, friendly faces, quiet life. At first glance, it feels peaceful. Too peaceful. Ulysses arrives expecting an easy assignment. 6 to 8 weeks, paperwork, coffee, silence. A place to heal. But from the moment he steps into town, something feels off. The people smile, but their eyes don't. Conversations feel rehearsed, like everyone is hiding something. Even small things don't add up. A bar covered in guns that are supposedly not loaded. A police station with enough weapons to start a war. And townspeople who suddenly go quiet whenever Ulysses asks questions. But Ulysses doesn't push, because that's his rule. Leave the town the way you found it. No trouble, no digging, no attachments. He meets the locals. Deputy Mike, eager but clueless. Deputy Blaine, ambitious, maybe too ambitious. Then there's Mayor Kibner. Charming, smiling, but something about him feels slippery. And finally, Moira, a bartender, sharp, observant, the only one who seems to see right through Ulysses. But the most important person he meets is Alex, the estranged child of the former sheriff, the one who died under mysterious circumstances. Alex doesn't trust the town, and soon neither does Ulysses. For a few days things stay quiet. Minor disputes, small town problems. It almost feels like Ulysses might finally get peace. But then, one small decision changes everything. A desperate couple walks into town. They're broke, out of options, and they decide to rob the local bank. A simple mistake, a small crime. But what they don't know is that this bank is hiding something much bigger. And when Ulysses responds to the robbery, he's about to uncover a secret that will turn the entire town against him. Because what happens next, no one could have predicted. The bank robbery begins like any other. Messy, nervous, amateur. Ulysses arrives to defuse the situation. Calm, controlled, professional. He doesn't want violence, he just wants it to end quietly. But then, something impossible happens. His own deputies open fire on him. Yes, the police are trying to kill their own sheriff. At that moment, everything Ulysses thought he knew about this town shatters. Inside the bank, he discovers something shocking. A hidden vault. Not just money, but gold, weapons, millions, maybe more. This isn't a small town bank. This is something else, something illegal, something dangerous. And suddenly, everyone in town is after him. Not just the police, everyone. Old men, shop owners, neighbors, all armed, all willing to kill. The truth finally comes out. The town of Normal is working with the Yakuza. Years ago, this town was dying. No jobs, no future, no hope. Then the Yakuza made them an offer. Use the town's bank as a secret base for their operations. In return, they would make the town rich. And it worked. Normal survived, while other towns collapsed. But there was a price. Silence, loyalty, and if needed, violence. When the previous sheriff discovered the truth, they killed him and brought in Ulysses because they thought he wouldn't ask questions. They were wrong. Now Ulysses is trapped, caught between a desperate couple just trying to survive, and an entire town willing to kill to protect its secret. The snowstorm outside traps everyone in. No escape, no backup, no help. And then things get even worse. The Yakuza find out something is wrong, and they're coming to normal. Because now, this isn't just a town secret anymore. This is a war. And Ulysses is right in the middle of it. But what the town doesn't know is that Ulysses has a past, a dark one, and when pushed far enough, he doesn't just survive, he fights back.
As the violence escalates, we begin to understand Ulysses. Through nightmares, through silence, through broken phone calls to his wife. We learn the truth, the reason he's like this. Years ago, a young woman came to him. She said her father was abusing her. Ulysses didn't believe her because he knew the father, trusted him. Then one night, everything exploded. He responded to a domestic call. The daughter had a gun. The father panicked. And in that moment, the truth came out. Ulysses realized he had failed her. In the chaos, he shot the father. But then, the girl turned the gun on him, and he had no choice. He pulled the trigger. In one moment, he killed both the abuser and the victim. That guilt broke him. And now, in normal, he sees it happening again. People doing terrible things and calling it survival. But this time, he refuses to stand back. Meanwhile, the situation spirals out of control. Explosions tear through the streets. Gunfights erupt everywhere. People are dying, brutally. And yet, it's almost absurd, chaotic, darkly funny. A knitting needle becomes a weapon. A ricocheting bullet kills someone unexpectedly. An old woman fights like a soldier. This town is insane. But then comes the biggest twist. Ulysses doesn't just fight the town. He teams up with some of them, because the Yakuza are arriving, and they are far more dangerous. Enemies become allies. Plans are made. Traps are set. The goal? Fool the Yakuza. Make them believe everything is under control. And for a moment, it almost works. But then, something goes wrong. Something no one expected. And what happens next changes everything. In one final moment of chaos, the Yakuza leader dies. Not in a grand fight, not in a planned attack, but by accident. And that mistake destroys everything. Because now there is no turning back. The final battle begins. Gunfire, explosions, bodies falling everywhere. By the end, almost everyone is dead. Only a few survive. Ulysses, Alex, and Blaine. Ulysses and Alex escape, leaving the town behind, but Blaine stays, becomes the new sheriff, and quietly covers everything up. The Yakuza, they don't leave, they just adapt, and normal continues, like nothing ever happened. But the real story is not about violence, it's about choice. The town chose survival, no matter the cost. Ulysses chose redemption, and Alex chose purpose. Because sometimes the world isn't divided into good and bad. Sometimes it's just people trying to survive, even if it destroys them. And that's the terrifying truth of normal. If you enjoyed this deep dive into normal, make sure to hit subscribe, because the next story might be even darker.